Drop.
I'm Dr. Rob Brander, and I'm a surf scientist from the University of New South Wales. And in this episode, we're going to look at a different type of wave, and believe it or not, that wave is actually the tide. Now, the tide comes up, and you can see the high tide mark, and it goes back down the beach, and you can see it's low tide now, and it does that every single day. The tide is a wave. High tide is the crest, low tide is the trough. So there's a lot of water moving up and down the beach, and we need to know what is forcing that water. And there's two other things about the tide that are interesting. One is that the timing of the tide changes every day. High tide today is going to be different than high tide tomorrow. And the other thing is the amount that the tide goes up and down also changes every day. So why is that happening? Now, the timing of the tide is all about the relationship between the Earth and the Moon. So the Earth is pretty big and the Moon is pretty small. But the Moon is big enough to exert a gravitational force on the Earth. And that causes the water on the Earth to bulge up towards the Moon. Now, if you were standing somewhere on the Earth, remember, the Earth is rotating around. And what happens is you would experience two of those bulges each day. And that means that you'd have two high tides and two low tides every day. The other thing to remember is that as the Earth is rotating at a certain speed, the Moon is also orbiting around the Earth. And it orbits at a different speed, and there's a lag of 50 minutes between the two. So the high tide every day is 50 minutes later, and the low tide every day is 50 minutes later because of the difference in the Earth's rotation and the Moon orbiting around the Earth. Tide range is the vertical elevation difference between the water level at high tide and the water level at low tide. The reason it changes every day not only is related to the Earth and the Moon, but now the Sun as well. Now, remember that the Earth and the Moon both orbit around the Sun, and sometimes the Sun and the Moon are lined up so that their gravitational forces act together and cause a greater tidal bulge on the Earth. And that creates bigger tides, which we call spring tides. Now, when the Moon and the Sun are at right angles to each other, their gravitational forces cancel each other out, and we get smaller tides, and we call those neap tides. So every 2 weeks we get really big tides called springs, and every 2 weeks we get smaller tides called neap tides. You may have heard of something called a king tide, and a lot of people think the king tide is a dangerous sudden surge of water. Well, it's not. A king tide is just a bigger tide. In fact, it's a bigger spring tide, because sometimes the Moon and the Sun are particularly close to the Earth. And when that happens, which is 2 times a year, your tides are going to be bigger. So they're nothing to worry about, they're totally predictable, and they're not dangerous at all. Well, we've just talked about what tides are and some of the characteristics of tides that you might find on beaches. But what we'll do in the next episode of Science on the Surf is something different. We're going to actually focus on the different types of beaches and how they behave.
Anybody here? Wow. Wow. Yay!
Hi and welcome to this edition of Speed Learning. I'm Nicole Cooper from the ARC Photovoltaic Centre of Excellence here at the University of New South Wales. I'm here to answer the question, what is photovoltaics? Now it may sound like a complicated concept just going by the title, but I could break it down for you in quick and simple terms. You've probably heard of solar energy, right? The conversion of the sun's rays into energy. Well, photovoltaic cells convert the rays of sunshine into electricity, but with no moving parts, unlike a wind turbine, for example. These solar cells were once used pretty much exclusively in space, but now they're used to power people's homes, remote communities, calculators, telecommunication towers, and more. Magic, you ask? Let's find out. Common solar cells are made using a bare wafer of silicon, like a big computer chip. Silicon is a semiconductor material, which means that when light hits it, it knocks electrons loose, allowing them to flow freely. Where an electron is knocked free, it leaves what is called a hole, which acts like a positive charge. The silicon wafer that we start with is positively doped. In order to collect the electrons and holes that are generated by the cell, we need to have a negative part and a positive part of the cell. The electrons get collected at the negative end and the holes get collected at the positive end. We create a negative part of the cell by doping the top side of the wafer with a negative material, phosphorus. To actually power a light bulb or a computer, for example, we need to get the electricity out of the cell by screen printing and firing metal contacts to both the top negative side and the back positive side. But what happens next? Let's find out. These cells are then electrically connected in a frame, like this one, to produce a module that you can put on your roof to power your home, for example. Excitingly, at UNSW, we hold the world record for the most efficient silicon solar cell, which is a huge achievement that we're all proud of. These cells have been used in the World Solar Challenge from Darwin to Adelaide, on cars that can travel up to speeds of 135 kilometres per hour. People at UNSW are using their understanding of solar cells to work on innovative new cell structures to bring down the cost of photovoltaic electricity to help address both climate change and global poverty. So there you have it, photovoltaics explained.
In less than a day spent in hospital, this patient's eyesight will be restored. Stem cells from the patient's own eye have been harvested on this simple contact lens. This will be placed on the eye to overcome the damage caused by blinding corneal disease. Within weeks, sight will dramatically improve. It's a world-first technique pioneered by researchers at the University of New South Wales and colleagues at Sydney's Prince of Wales Hospital. The novel procedure, which is simple and inexpensive, offers hope to people with a range of blinding conditions that involve corneal damage from infections, burns and chemotherapy.
It's a simple technique. It requires a small biopsy from a patient. It requires 5 mils of sera. The cells are cultured over a 10-day period on a contact lens, so it requires no foreign human material or animal products. During the culture procedure, the tissue is firmly adherent to the contact lens surface. The pink solution is like fertilizer for the cells. The cells seem to transfer from the contact lens surface onto the patient's ocular surface.
Once the stem cells have multiplied, the lens is dispatched to surgeon Dr. Stephanie Watson of Sydney's Prince of Wales Hospital.
The procedure is relatively non-invasive. For the patient, they merely come into the hospital for a couple of hours and then they're able to go home afterwards. At the beginning of the procedure, we remove all the damaged cells from the front of the eye. Following this, we take the contact lens with the cells that's been cultured in the lab and simply place it on the front of the eye. Afterwards, the patient uses eye drops and then returns the next day and we examine the contact lens to make sure it's in place.
The researchers are hoping the procedure can be adapted for use in other parts of the eye and even in other organs.
We're very excited about this technique because we think it might be applicable to other major organs of the human body, such as the skin, because after all, the skin behaves in a very similar manner to the cornea.
It's Sydney's first summer downpour. But it's nothing compared with the wet season Hamish left back home in Darwin. This is his first week at uni, and he hasn't even enrolled yet. He's here as part of Nuragili's Indigenous Medicine pre-program. It provides an opportunity for Indigenous students from all over the country to gain entry into their chosen degree. Hamish and his friends hope to one day boost the number of Indigenous doctors in Australia. Throughout the program, students attend physiology and anatomy practicals, where they get hands-on experience of measuring each other's blood pressure.
Try it that way.
And study the complexities of the human body for the first time.
One short, one long.
I almost fainted, but I wasn't the only one, so it was okay.
But students are given plenty of support in the more challenging situations.
Left ventricle.
And then I can teach them anatomy and some introduction to how it is applied in clinical situations. They are better equipped to do the medical course because they have a smaller group with more contact with lecturers here. So I talk with them and hold their hands and help them and to deal with the problems and difficulty in learning how to study, how to improve your memory.
It went much better today. I think it's just because we've got used to it. It was pretty full on when we had our first lesson, which what we saw today was obviously much less. I didn't faint, which is a good thing, and I don't think anybody felt sick by the looks of it. So it's probably a good thing.
Nuragili's Indigenous pre-programs boast a high success rate. Over the past 4 years, 90% of students completed their chosen program and went on to study at UNSW or another tertiary institution.
I think the pre-medicine programs definitely helped me a lot, and when I do commence my course at UNSW, it will almost give me a head start because the content of the program is pretty much the basic stuff of what you do in foundations, which is the first part of the medicine program. So we do the same assignments, we do a lot of the same work. They say the friends you make at university remain with you for the rest of your life, and after the 4 weeks here, I hope that's the case because the people you meet here are absolutely fantastic. I just find that I'm easily inspired by other people, and when I see other Indigenous people who are medical professionals, it inspires me more because I know that I'm fairly well off compared to a lot of them, and to be able to see them in such high positions is just amazing because I know that it makes me realise that anything can be accomplished when you put your mind to it.
Charlie Teo is one of Australia's most radical neurosurgeons, the man to whom patients turn when no one else will even try.
Look at you, you look good. Oh, so do you, Charlie.
Troy Cord is one of those patients who turned to Charlie after his previous doctors told him to prepare to die.
Look good, son. Oh, I am feeling great.
He's about to find out if his last-ditch attempt at life has paid off.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to grow one of those things, I just can't do it.
Such is a normal day in the life of this Sydney-born neurosurgeon. Educated at the University of New South Wales and now a conjoint lecturer there, he has a huge reputation for his treatment of brain tumours, skull-based surgery, neuroendoscopy and functional neurosurgery. Faith in his ability to heal what many consider inoperable is one of Charlie Teo's hallmarks.
I'm great at neurosurgery, so what I do is I try and push the envelope more and more. All those diseases that were once called inoperable, I'm going to go through every one of them individually and see if they really are inoperable in my hands, with my support team, with the technology that I have available to me today. You know, do we really need to call those tumours or those conditions inoperable, untreatable, incurable? I think what I find most fascinating about the brain is that it's one of the last frontiers. We have this huge unknown, it's like an unknown universe out there to explore.
Charlie Teo has saved the lives of thousands of people.
We were basically told that to go home and make funeral arrangements.
Oh my goodness, how good are you going? Oh gee. Okay, here's the vital scans.
Oh, just a little scarring, isn't it? Just there.
It's fantastic, Troy.
Yes. That's what I thought. I was looking up there.
Still?
Were you looking at it, son?
Up there I was, yeah. I'm not looking there.
It's gone.
Yeah.
It's not a thing, there's not even a hint of it. But
yeah,
basically, apart from that, there's nothing else.
Still it's gone?
I mean, it's clean as a whistle.
Yay. You're good, Charlie. You are bloody good.
The bottom line is that you're doing well. You took the risk, it paid off.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled, son, you look fantastic. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're a champion.
Okay, good. Can I move the wound? Is that healed up all right?
Oh, beautiful.
What's the difference, Charlie?
This one wasn't mine, though.
No, this is the old one. This is yours, nice and neat and thin beside.
Oh, good.
Difference
like that.
between non-invasive and invasive.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Well done, son.
Amazing.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Okay. When the patient's on the table, I try and separate myself as I'm operating on them. Although I must say that, you know, if the operation's going to be long and tedious and I feel like giving up, I then sort of try and think about who they are, the person that I'm operating on, so that I won't give up. You've just got to keep going and going and going. And even when you're tired and things look bad and the brain is swelling and blood is everywhere, you've got to just keep plugging on. And again, it's my personality. I'm not critical of people who don't do that. And I'm not critical of my colleagues who call tumours inoperable that I can take out. I mean, you know, we all have our particular talents.
Come on, princess.
In typical Charlie fashion, he unwinds in some usual and not so usual ways.
Well, you do need to unwind after a hard day at work, and even if it's 3 o'clock in the morning when you get home, you do have to unwind. You can't just go straight to bed. There's nothing better to get your mind off work than riding a motorbike, because unless you are fully concentrating on the road, you're going to die. So I find that when I'm riding my bike, I don't think about anything else except staying alive. Yeah, I love animals, so I've got 4 dogs. I spend as much time with them as I can. Now, I like to think that I'm good at what I do, but I'm very bad at playing the bagpipes. I love the instrument, they stir my blood, but I'm a very, very, very bad bagpipe player. She has, unfortunately, a GBM, glioblastoma multiforme, the worst cancer known to mankind, the deadliest cancer of all cancers. It's indiscriminate as to who it affects. It affects the very young, the very old. It takes you out in the prime of your life. So this one is very, very highly malignant. This has grown in the last few weeks.
Her scan a few weeks ago showed that, in fact, she had no recurrence. She was looking very good. We were very pleased, and then this suddenly popped up. This will hopefully buy her another 6 months take. Oh, that was difficult. Lights on, thanks, glasses off. These tumours are like the roots of a tree. You can take out the trunk, in other words, the bit that you see. You can even take out some of the large roots, but it's very difficult to take out the fine roots. You just can't do it. Well, you could, but you'd have to destroy the entire brain.
So I see the three major categories that will formulate the future of neurosurgery are education, research, and I think the marriage of disciplines. And by that I mean technology being intimately related to the advances we make in surgery.
Okay, what
Thank you. From the bottom of my heart.
No, it's a pleasure. Congratulations. Okay, so we'll see you in 6 months' time with another MRI scan.
Yeah.
Okay.
They call you cowboy, mate, I'll tell you, but you're better than John Wayne. Hey? I can't get anything better than what Charlie's told me today. So, I mean, he's given me the best present.
He's a miracle worker, and that's it.